Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you're looking for jewelry that makes an impact on your self-care routine and your style, Empowerography would love to offer you a discount code to one of our exclusive partners, Quartz and Canary Jewelry and Wellness Company. Please use code EMPOWER15 to receive 15% off upon checkout at www.quartzandcanary.com. Quartz and Canary is truly the place where spirituality meets style. Hello, everyone. Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Lisa Erickson. She is an energy healer and author based in Los Angeles, California. How are you doing today, Lisa?
I'm great, Brad. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much for agreeing to be part of this movement or collective and agreeing to be a guest on my podcast. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you.
How's your day going so far?
Well, it's early for me. It's in the morning. So the kids are all on their online school. So that's good. That's the most we can hope for.
Leaves mom free to take care of what she needs to take care of.
Exactly. And just hoping the Wi-Fi holds out for all of us, like most days.
Don't want to overload it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's jump in here, Lisa. You are a chakra-based energy worker, a writer, a teacher, specializing in women's energetic and sexual trauma healing. Can you explain to us what women's energetics is exactly?
Yeah, well, we all have a energy anatomy, an energy body that corresponds to our physical body. And a lot of different traditions work with this, including yoga and acupuncture, two modalities that a lot of people may be familiar with these days. You know, yoga postures were originally developed historically not only based on the physical body, but based on the chakras or energy centers and the flow of energy. And so is acupuncture. It's based on energy channels, and that's all of energy medicine. So I work with the chakras more from a contemplative and emotional healing perspective, guided visualizations, breathing, and other types of exercises that help people release blocks to the energies of each chakra. So that really, and women's energetics is then specifically how women's energy flows, especially at different points in their lives.
Okay. Now, do you work with men as well, or is it strictly women?
I do work with men, especially on trauma healing, but also on other kinds of things. But I'd say probably my practice is 75% women.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, Lisa, how long have you been working as a chakra-based energy worker?
Well, I've been doing this kind of work for about 15 years. And prior to that, I was a technology executive. But I had been meditating on the chakras for about 16 years before that and pursuing energy healing training on the side. So I've been personally working with the chakras with myself for over 30 years.
Wow. Now, what made you decide to get into this line of work and why? What's the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few different phases. Initially, just out of college, I was working in technology. And I started experiencing a lot of headaches and stomach aches.
Okay. Doctors
said they were stress-based. Yeah, recommended meditation. And, you know, meditation was not as common then. But I wandered into a meditation class, and it happened to be a chakra meditation class.
Okay.
You know, there's many different kinds of meditation. And it really began this lifelong love of the chakras and energy teachings. The experiences I had in that meditation really seemed to solidify things I'd been experiencing my whole life, but hadn't had a language for. So that's really how it started as a personal journey.
Okay. Now, doctors actually recommended meditation to you?
Yeah. I mean, this was in New York City.
Okay.
It was over 30 years ago, though. So that's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive and shocking, actually.
Yeah. Well, and now we understand that very clearly. A lot of doctors recommend these kinds of practices to help. This was after I'd gone through tests to make sure that I didn't have an ulcer. I didn't have physical issues, right?
Right.
They're like, this is stress-based. You're a 20-year-old, you're a 20-something-year-old healthy woman. You have something else going on. So, so it's very interesting.
Wow. I read you're also trained in a variety of healing modalities. Can you tell us a bit more about those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of them are energy based. I'm trained in Reiki. I'm trained in a variety of trauma release or trauma healing methods, all based on the energy body. Mm-hmm. So most are chakra-based healing. Some are more visual. Some are more based on hands-on. I mostly work with the visual. And of course, in my books, I have to write about the visual. I can't do the hands-on in the books.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different techniques.
Okay. Now, why have you decided to focus your work more specifically on women as opposed to men? I know you said you work with men, but why specifically focus more on women?
Well, after the birth of my first daughter, who is now 16, so 16 years ago, I had a real health crisis. I had my second health crisis, which was now 15 years later than the stress one, right?
Right.
And I was, it really stunned me because at that point I'd been working with a lot of these modalities for a long time. I was a very healthy person, perhaps had some ego invested in just how healthy I was.
Yeah.
So it kind of stunned me. And I really felt as if it was an energy adjustment that was occurring post-pregnancy. I'd already been studying energy teachings for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I dove more now into the ones that were specific to women and discovered a lot of ancient wisdom around how our energy body shifts in ways that are different than men, especially around pregnancy and perimenopause, our cycles. So I started doing workshops specifically on that, and women found them really empowering. And then that led to the sexual trauma work because so many of the women were also looking for ways to heal from abuse and assault.
Right. Okay. Now, what differences, speaking of energy bodies and whatnot, what differences are there in men's and women's energy bodies, and why are these not discussed more?
Yeah. The original energy teachings, the chakra teachings, they mostly came over through male yoga teachers. I mean, yoga mostly came to the United States through teachers from the West, from the East.
Yeah.
And they were mostly male, right? And that is mostly what occurred. And even in those countries, the female teachings are much less well known. They've been somewhat lost, and that's just the results of patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
The way history has been written. But they are there. When you dive in and you get to some sources that are less frequently translated, you can really find those teachings.
Okay.
And then,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the main difference, to keep it really simple, is in the chakra, the energy center that the energy body is based in. Mm-hmm. So men are anchored, you could say, in what's called the first chakra, which is really linked to the physical body. Okay. And it's also a very solid chakra, which means men in general have stronger energetic boundaries. They don't tend to be as empathic. But the risk of that, then, there's pros and cons to each type of energy body. The con is that it can be prone to rigidity, especially emotional rigidity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the female energy body is more receptive. It means we are more fluid, but also can tend to have more issues with energetic boundaries and take on others' emotions as our own when we don't need to. And of course, there's conditioning that plays into both of these as well. So there's a lot of layers to it.
Which is what I was going to bring up next is the fact that as a man and growing up, boys are taught you have to be the man and you have to be tough and you have to be big and strong and all of that stuff. So that's where the conditioning plays part in that, and feeds into that rigidity of the chakra and energy body with the males, whereas the females are taught to be more nurturing and more emotional, so to speak. Whereas men, emotions are in terms of how they are told as young boys, emotions with men are for girls. That's you don't show your emotions, and that's where that feeds into that, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And I have among my 3 kids, 2 are boy-girl twins that are now 14. And yes, I see this conditioning so deeply, even with my husband and I trying not to buy into that conditioning. The social conditioning is still so there. It's very, very rigid that way.
So how do you break that cycle? How does that, I know you do your work at home with your kids, but when the external forces and there's so much noise in the outside world, I guess you just really got to work harder and focus more in the home, working on changing that mentality and that mindset.
Yeah, it's really about allowing space for something different, but it is also about really constantly looking and pointing out the subtle messages that are being received, just like we're all now doing around race and gender in general, right? We're realizing what were previously unconscious biases, the way they come through our media and our cultural discourse, right?
Yeah.
Movies that we watched 10 years ago, we wouldn't consider sexist or racist. And now we watch it and we're like, wow, I can't believe I didn't see this before, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so it's an awakening. And that's part of the process. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Energy work is one modality that can support it, because you can really go into where is that held as a belief in my energy body. That's part of what the work is. And that can be a helpful, not only by itself, but a helpful piece to helping change it.
Right. I think there needs to be change around that, because that mentality is that I equate that mentality of, well, boys, you need to be strong and no emotions. And I equate that back to the 50s, 60s, 70s kind of thing. I know it goes further back than that, but I equate that with that time period. Now, in 2020, I don't know, I would have just thought, and maybe this is naivety on my part, but that things would have changed a little bit more than what they have. You look around in the corporate world, in the music industry, and this is getting a little off topic, but there's still old boys clubs in all of these places. And I believe that feeds that behavior and that mindset as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the way, part of how I see it is that the emphasis on feminism at first was giving women access to parts of society and roles in society and leadership positions that had been denied them, that kind of social power. But what happened then is we focused on giving women access to masculine traits, what had previously been masculine energies, right? We didn't focus on also reconditioning men around what we had considered to be feminine traits. And what we really need is all of us to be owning all of these energies, yin and yang. I don't even like calling them masculine or feminine.
Right.
Yin and yang is a better way of putting it, because then it really emphasizes that we're all trying to come into this wholeness.
Yeah.
And the chakras are one way of looking at that map, because some of them are more feminine, some of them are more masculine, some are more yin, some are more yang. We're trying to get to a place where all of us are allowed to own all aspects of ourselves.
And we should be able to.
Yeah, exactly. And we really focused on like girls playing sports. Did we focus on boys feeling completely comfortable, allowed to do ballet or macrame or any of the things that we had decided were feminine in the past?
No,
right?
Of course not.
We didn't. Yeah. So it was not an equal shift. And so those fields of nurturing and those kinds of things are still denigrated. They're still not valued at the same level as achievement and accomplishment, the things that we had decided were yang. So we need it's a lot of work still to do to make yin and yang equally valued.
Do you believe that we'll get there?
Not in my lifetime, but I believe that is the general direction. Energetically, I believe it's the general direction we're headed.
Yeah.
Do you think at the moment?
Do you think we are headed in the right direction?
Well, we're experiencing some deep backlash, yes. But I can't, as someone who works with sexual trauma survivors, I can't look at the Me Too movement of the last few years and not help but be awed. There has been real toppling and real change. Is there still a long way to go? For sure. But it's really unprecedented, some of what's happening, right? So that can't be undone. There's a backlash, but it can't be undone permanently.
Okay. Now, Chakra Empowerment for Women is your first book. Why did you decide to sit down and write a book on this topic, and how long did it take you to write the book?
It didn't take that long to write it, because it is based on the workshops that I'd been doing at that point, for over 12 years, and the private session work as well. So I wanted to make this the most basic part of the work, the part that really can be done on your own, accessible to more people. As yoga's become more popular, more and more women are aware of the chakras, but may not know they can work with them in this way. So this is a way of doing that, making that accessible.
Okay. Now, what is it that excites or inspires you to write on these topics?
That it's part of this rebalancing, this shifting of masculine and feminine, yin and yang within all of us, men and women. That as women come into this power and heal, that reverberates out through society. And I really believe in that shift for the sake of my children and the future.
How do you put this, all of your learnings and teachings, how do you implement that at home with your kids?
It's at this point a lot of discussion. When they were younger, I did do chakra exercises with them. They've been introduced to meditation. Now that they're teenagers, it's more about modeling because they're going to resist too much instruction, right?
Right.
So it's more about modeling, and, they've actually helped me market my books. They got paid for that over during the shelter in place. They would do different email campaigns and stuff for me.
That's great.
And that, kind of forced them to interact with the book in an indirect way.
Yeah.
So they know, it's like they know those resources are available. They've been exposed to it, but I don't push it too hard so they feel as if it's a choice what they want to focus on. Yeah. That's
very cool. So being an author, what are some of your favorite types of books to read?
It's so funny because I write nonfiction, but I read so much fiction, and I read a lot. I read a lot of women's literature. I mean, my it's really pretty escapist. Like, a lot of my books are what would be considered chick lit, and I love the authors that are trying to reclaim that as a positive phrase, right? But I also like mysteries and things like that, because I do like my reading to be a form of relaxation at the end of the night. But I also do read quite a bit of books on feminism. I'm currently reading Caste, Oprah Winfrey's book club, that is on how race divisions developed in this country and how it parallels India's caste system. So all of that's really fascinating. So I do read nonfiction as well.
Okay. All right. I guess, you write nonfiction, so reading something completely different is somewhat to be expected, I would think, because you're so involved in that world and writing that type of book. I'm sure you don't always want to read that type of book.
Yeah. And for me, fiction is part of my almost energetic clearing. Like, it's letting go of everything I do all day long and allowing myself.
It's an escapism, right?
Bubble. Yeah, and in a healthy way, a healthy escapism.
Yes, exactly. Now, which authors do you personally admire and look up to?
Well, in terms of the nonfiction, Cindy Dale is one of my primary energy healing mentors, and I really love all her books. I think she has about 30 at this point on different facets of energy healing. I like Jennifer Weiner in terms of fiction. She's written a lot of good women's fictions and a book of essays also. Those are, I think, two of my favorites.
Okay. What are some of the challenges you faced early on as an author, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think as a mother, and also with my client practice, my energy work practice, it was all about time. By the time I sat down to write this book, I had all the material, like I said, from the workshops, but carving out that time in a consistent fashion was difficult. So I really had to learn how to change gears. Like, I couldn't have it when I sat down a 2-hour transition time to get back into the work. I had to learn how to just sit down and get focused and reconnect with it right away. And that really was a kind of a process of learning how to do that.
I was going to say, was that a tough process for you to learn that and put it into practice?
It was. And interestingly, I sort of developed a kind of a pre-writing ritual, a particular quick meditation that I would do to help me shift gears. It was literally like cutting lines to all my other responsibilities, lighting this candle, creating this sense of space that, okay, now I'm sitting down to write, creating triggers for my mind and body that, okay, now I'm writing, which interestingly enough is something that I put it's recommended for when you're learning to meditate, that you create a dedicated space, time, and you have certain triggers, whether it's a candle or something like that, that sends the message to your mind. Okay, now we're meditating, and I had to kind of do that same thing when I was sitting down to write.
Yeah, because you have to be in the right state of mind, the right headspace to sit down and write. When you're writing a book, you have to be focused and concentrate, and you have to be there.
Exactly. And a lot of times we take a long time to get there, right? So when we will start cruising the internet, all of a sudden half an hour has passed.
Yeah.
We reread,
Yes.
you reread what you wrote the day before. That takes half an hour, and I had to learn to just shorten all of that, to just be able to switch gears right away.
How long would you say it took you to get that process down, reteach yourself that?
Well, I was working pretty consistently, probably a couple of months. And then in the second half of writing the book, I was really just able to do it each time I sat down. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what other profession other than your own would you like to attempt in your life? Do you have any others in mind?
I don't know. I'd love to be a naturalist. I love the natural world. I love hiking and learning about the natural world on a more detailed level. So I feel like I'd love to be a naturalist.
Okay. What would you say was a turning point in your life, and how did it affect you?
Well, certainly this illness after the birth of my first daughter. And of course, it was also the birth of my first daughter. So both becoming a mother and what I discovered about women's energy teachings at that time, totally, I changed my career. I wasn't necessarily planning to ever do energy work, energy healing, or writing about any of this stuff full time until that point. So it definitely is this complete turning point in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dealing with being a mother for the first time and an illness and career change, that's a lot on a person.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and at the time I thought I'd be going back to my technology work, and my energy healing studies would be on the side like they had been, and maybe I would do a few clients. But I really felt a calling after that to share what I had learned and share how I had healed. And it grew into this gradual transformation. I think also when we have children, it does shift us. There's a part of us that really wants to do something that's related to their future. So I do view this work as that was part of the shift as well.
Okay. What's something people seem to misunderstand about you?
I think they think I'm going to be really flaky because of the work.
Really?
Well, I think when people would see it's only certain people. It depends how familiar you are with the chakras. You may place it in this new age vein that has a kind of stereotype to it.
Okay.
And most of us in this field that I know, most healers are not like that at all. So what we're talking about may be very outside of conventional thinking. But in order to do this work, most people I know are very, very grounded. So I'd say that's the big misconception.
Have you come across much of that?
Occasionally, not so much lately. I think it has become more mainstream. But there was a time where occasionally on Facebook posts, someone would just post, "Oh, this is a lot of bunk. I can't believe you believe this stuff," or, that kind of thing. So
yeah. I'm realizing in my travels and my interviews and whatnot, my dealings with all of the women I've been speaking with and interviewing, that there are a hell of a lot of women practicing Reiki and getting into energy healing. And I can't believe how many women are involved in this world. And I had no idea it was so popular until I started doing the podcast and seeing how many women are involved in this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the mind, body, spirit kind of holistic health market, most estimates say that it is 80% women.
Yeah.
We're really kind of leading the way in terms of alternative medicine, holistic health on the consumer side for sure. And on the practitioner side.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting part of the empowerment of the feminine.
For sure. Who would you say have been 3 of the most influential people in your life?
For sure, my first spiritual teacher, who is now passed, Cindy Dale, for sure. And Lama Salter Malioni, a current teacher who I study with spiritually. She's American, but she teaches within Tibetan Buddhism. Those 3 have been the most phenomenal kind of influences on me, for sure.
Amazing. What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received?
This is actually from a college professor, and it speaks just to what we were talking about in terms of writing a book. She said she was a mom, she was a professor, a mom of 2 young kids, and she said the most important skill you can learn is how to change gears. She's like, I'm here. and really what she meant when I think back on it was how to be fully present in the moment. Like, she's like, I'm here now with you as your professor, your teacher. And then I walk out this door and I'm 100% with my kids and my husband. Whoever you're with is who you're with, and whatever you're doing is what you're doing 100%. And I think that was really advice that I've taken to heart throughout my life.
Very interesting. What is a passion of yours that you rarely share with people, and why not?
That I rarely share with people. I don't know. I feel like at this point in my life, I don't hold much back. I am who I am. So most people know my passion for the chakras and meditation and nature. I think all of these are my main passions, and everyone knows about them. So I don't know if there are many I hold back.
You're a fairly open book then.
Yeah. I mean, it's taken time to get there. I did at one time hide this part of me from people who I felt wouldn't understand it or would judge me for it. But at this point, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I guess, we get to a certain point in our lives and a certain age, I guess, where it's like, you know what, I don't give a shit what other people think. And this is what makes me happy. This is what I'm doing. And who gives a shit what anybody else thinks?
Exactly. And if anything, I sort of feel like we're so siloed right now anyway on social media. And, that I want interaction with people who aren't comfortable with how I think or view. And I want to seek out people who don't think like I do. So there's more interaction, right? Instead of this kind of, we're each only interacting with people who already believe what we believe.
Well, that also helps with broadening or widening your knowledge base too, speaking to people who aren't only in your little world of what you do. It opens the mind, I think, to a lot of other things as well. I think it's a necessary part of life.
Exactly. And especially right now, I think we are becoming more siloed. So releasing the idea that that's a good thing, that the comfort zone is always a good thing, and embracing that a little bit of discomfort is where growth occurs.
Well, that's it. That I was just going to say, nothing good comes out of comfort zones, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because from the perspective of trauma healing, in a way, that's what trauma healing is. Trauma creates a lot of fear imprints around things that make someone want to really just stay in their comfort zone. And their comfort zone is very small, right? And what you're trying to do is get someone comfortable with the idea of discomfort, more faith in their ability to withstand certain emotions. That's part of the healing process so that they can engage with life at the full level that they want to. Right.
Excuse me. Sorry. Now, how long have you been working in the trauma healing area? How long, why did you get into that type of work, and how long have you been doing that specific part of it?
Yeah, I think that's more like 12 years.
Okay.
When I first started out doing the women's energetics workshops, they were more focused on the menstrual cycle and pregnancy and menopause. But so many women were coming to me that had abuse or assault in their background, and they wanted to know if they could work with the chakras on healing that. And so I really started delving into trauma healing in general, and developed a program that I worked with privately for many years before publishing this book.
Okay. What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after learning it?
I mean, that everything is energy, and really understanding that really happened in my 20s when I entered into that chakra meditation class.
Yeah.
And really understanding thoughts, emotions, everything that I'm putting out, everything I'm receiving has an energetic component, and that I could take responsibility and be aware of what was impacting me. And in retrospect, what was happening before that is I was feeling a lot of other people's emotions as if they were my own.
Right.
So the main thing that working with my energy body gave me was that ability to recognize this is my emotion, that's that person's emotion, and I am not responsible for it or for taking it on.
Right. Well, that goes back to what we were speaking about earlier with the conditioning of the male and the female, where the females are conditioned to be nurturing and whatnot and take on other people's problems and emotions and help and solve them and deal with that type of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So for me, that was a big shift in how I felt. And it meant it shifted physically, it shifted my health, and it was very empowering in terms of the career path I was on at the time. And it really helped me own my power, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't dealing with everyone else's responses or emotions.
Well, that frees up a lot of space in you to deal with your stuff and focus on you.
Yeah. And then you can really
with other people's shit.
Exactly. And then you can really focus on your own personal growth because you understand what's triggered rather than taking on someone else's emotions. And there's a big difference. And it changes your relationships too, because so often we take on the emotions of our partner.
Yeah.
What can often happen in heterosexual relationships is that if a man has difficulty expressing his emotions, the woman will actually take on his emotions to express them for him. It's a kind of codependency that doesn't serve either person.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways it can play out.
Yeah. What would you say you feel most grateful for in your life?
Oh, that I became exposed to these teachings and then meeting my husband and having my 3 wonderful kids because I really love my family.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Joyful.
I like it. What makes you smile?
Hummingbirds. My dogs.
Hummingbirds. I've never heard that one before.
You know what? I just had a hummingbird fly by my window earlier this morning, and it definitely made me smile. So how could I not say that?
Yeah, there you go.
Dolphins. I have dolphins near at the beach that I visit pretty regularly. That I love
very
to see.
Cool.
So a lot of nature.
Yeah.
And but also I love teaching. I love what I do. So certainly all of that.
I think that is a big part of the key to happiness and success in life is loving what you do. Because, I mean, really, we spend so much time working, so much time of our lives working. And, I was guilty of it. And I'm sure many, many, many other people have been guilty of it too. Working at a job you absolutely cannot stand. And to me, it's heartbreaking that so many people do that and don't find what they love and just do it. Why would you want to? I understand to a certain degree because I was doing it, but I finally was able to see the light and just make it happen. But why spend that much time of your life going into a job you absolutely hate and being miserable? Come home miserable. It affects every aspect of your life.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And we're so heavily, conditioned that there are certain pathways that you need to take.
Yes.
And these are the answer that it's hard to get outside of that. And then sometimes there's real world constraints in terms of the transition. How do you do that? I work with a lot of people that are, say, perhaps trying to shift careers. And how do you make that transition, right? Because there's always going to be this intermediary phase where maybe you're doing both and how to pull that off. But really keeping the faith to make that transition. And, energetics can help a lot with that because it is a lot about the energy and vibration that you're bringing to what you do.
Right. I don't know. It's a very interesting topic to me, and that so many people are stuck in a job they can't stand. And it's heartbreaking, to be honest, to me anyway.
Yeah. It's soul crushing.
It is for sure. It's soul sucking, soul crushing. It's a horrible place to be.
And the bigger picture is, why are there so many jobs people hate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We work on the individual level, but we also need to talk about how can we change workplace culture.
That's right. There are so many companies out there that preach people first. We're a people first company and we care about our people. It's absolute bullshit for the most part. You don't. What you give a shit about is the bottom line and the dollars and cents. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So when it's convenient to boost morale, it gets boosted. Otherwise, it does not. Yeah, exactly. So we really need to reorient our whole approach to work. And to me, that also is very much a yang-yin equation, right? Yes. I'm hoping this pandemic and working from home does shift some of our thinking about all of that and what people actually need to do to be productive. And we'll see. Opens up more options for people. I
really hope it does too. But part of me, and maybe this is being negative, but part of me just thinks that most of the human race will just fall right back into the same old practices and not appreciate. I mean, yes, of course, all of this has been horrible. There's been a lot of death and it's very, very unfortunate. But there has been a lot of good that has come out of it too. And I think we need to keep that in mind and remember that whenever we do come out the other side of this pandemic, whenever that is, we've got to not fall back into those old practices and keep moving forward with what the things we were doing and the changes we were making in our lives for those that were making changes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, change does happen one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a very well-known Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote that's floating around a lot right now with her passing, and that's it. And so some of what we have realized during this time will be lost, but hopefully enough will have shifted permanently that, when we look back historically, we can see there were real changes in certain ways.
I really hope
we'll see.
So. I hope so. Well, I mean, really all we can do is focus on our world, our own individual worlds, and making the changes for us. And hopefully that is a domino effect and keeps creating and moving forward with that for other people. Other people will be affected by it and see that, hey, this person's doing it, so why don't I? And hopefully it's a ripple effect, right?
Yeah, and I believe it is. And I believe energetically we are all connected. It really is like the Matrix, those movies, the Matrix.
Yes.
So it does reverberate out as we each shift, as we each heal something within ourselves, as we each come into a certain power and act on it. That reverberates out and it contributes to everyone's shifting.
Yeah. What would your perfect day be like?
Oh, my perfect day would be getting up and meditating, having breakfast with my kids, going for a walk on the beach, teaching a workshop, maybe having just one or two clients, then a lovely dinner with a glass of wine and maybe a funny movie. That's pretty boring, isn't it?
No, not really. That sounds pretty nice, actually.
It's where you get to at 53, I guess.
Well, our priorities shift as we get older. So there's not, that doesn't sound boring at all. What would you say is one of your favorite things about your career?
Oh, it's an honor to watch people change. And because it really, when I'm down, there'll be days when I'll feel like I have to really push myself to be able to be there for my clients in the way that they deserve.
Yeah.
And then when one of them has a breakthrough or reports how things have shifted for them, it's such a gift. It's like, wow, this actually works. And it just re-inspires my own faith. So I feel as if that's what's such an honor, is to be a part of other people's growth, to feel like you played a role in it and have it reinforced for you over and over that change is possible. Shifts are possible.
It is. It's a pretty incredible feeling to know that you affected someone's life that in that way, that they see things differently, or you caused a change for them. That it's got to be one of the most incredible feelings in the world.
It is. And it also it reminds me I'm part of something larger, that something larger is coming through me. So it re-inspires my spiritual faith. Awesome.
If you were guaranteed the correct answer to one question in life, what would you ask?
Oh my goodness. I can easily overthink this one. I guess right now it would be, how can humanity change so that the world is here in a positive way for my grandkids and my great-grandkids?
I love that. To what extent do you believe that we shape our own destiny, and how much is up to fate, do you think?
Well, I think there's another piece in there. I think it's this interaction between free choice and other people's free choice. So I wouldn't necessarily use the word fate. It's an interdependence between, we definitely, I don't know if I put a percentage on it, but we influence our fate. We do not decide it. Nothing happens to just us, right? There's no event that happens to just one person, and other people's wills and intentions are acting as well. So it's this constant matrix of interaction between ourselves, the universe, larger forces, and other people's intentions and wills. And it's a joyful play if we can approach it that way. So I don't think of it so much in terms of fate. I think of it more in terms of interactive, this interplay between our own will and the wills of others and a collective will. And there's a constant interaction and interplay going on.
I like that. If you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I haven't asked you?
Yeah. What can men and women do right now to come into greater health and happiness?
So elaborate, tell us a little bit about what you think.
Open to that which feels slightly uncomfortable for you. Getting back to what we were talking about, whether it's views, whether it's healing modalities, whether it's practices, whether it's a conversation with someone you've been avoiding, really opening up to that which you've been avoiding and that feels uncomfortable for you, leaning into it and seeing what comes of it. And I think that would be my number one piece of advice.
Very sound advice. I love it. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
I do think of it somewhat technically. It really is about, on the energetic level, clearing away the blocks, the self-beliefs, the energetic imprints that inhibit your own natural light from coming forth. Everyone's powers are slightly different, right? It's like a crystal. The light comes through us in a different way. So empowerment is about clearing away those blocks, and then your own power and light will come through you in the way that it is supposed to come through.
Awesome. What would you say is one of your favorite quotes?
Oh gosh, I'm terrible at quotes. Whenever I get asked this question, I need to be warned whenever I'm going to be asked. But you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is on my mind just because she just passed. Yeah. And so one of them I really loved was around the idea that, we'll have equality in this world when men take as much responsibility for the raising of the next generation as women. Because I feel like this is where shifts have been occurring in terms of parenthood, but we're not all there yet, and it really will change a lot.
Yeah, I think there has been a shift for sure. But yeah, there's still more work that needs to be done, definitely. But there's definitely, I have to say, there has been a shift 100%.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most modern fathers, including you, I'm sure, and my husband, are really involved in their kids' lives. Yeah. But we know from the studies, there's still a certain kind of emotional baggage piece that's mostly carried by the woman. And that is the piece we haven't completely made co-parenting in that way equal. And it's partially because we haven't allowed men to own that side of themselves, perhaps. So I think there's more work to be done there, and then it will really shift the way our kids grow up.
Very true. Very true. Do you have any big projects that you're currently working on or coming down the pike that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I just started the latest round of my Chakra Empowerment for Women webinar, which is tied to the book. And I'll run another version of that in January. And then I have my second book, just came out a couple months ago, The Art and Science of Meditation. So that is not specific to women, and it is not specific to just chakra meditation. It is a more general book for meditators that would like more resources.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your second book.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Where can people pick up your books?
They're available everywhere. They were published through Llewellyn Publishing, so they are on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And if you want to purchase from your local bookseller, which is great right now to support them, you can go to indiebound.org and you type in your zip code, and it will tell you all the independent booksellers around you that can order or are currently selling a particular book. So you could type in these books and find out where you could get them locally.
What was that again? What was the website again? Sorry.
indiebound.org.
Awesome. That's a great resource. Thank you.
It is a great resource. Yeah.
And lastly, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Believe in yourself, which I know sounds very cliche, but really, if you're constantly focusing on that, you do begin to cut away all of the external forces that are telling you that you need to do something else or you're supposed to do something else. Per a lot of what we talked about in today's interview. So I think just continuing to believe in yourself and go inward for direction.
It's simplistic on one hand, but it's not on the other. It's very complex too, because believing in yourself is a very hard thing for some people to do.
That's right. And really, to do that, you have to cut through so many voices that are telling you not to believe in yourself.
Yes.
And there's
a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
So it's simple to say, but
Yes.
really a lifelong process to do.
That's right. That's right. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your insights and telling us or showing us or talking about a bit of your journey and your story. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and it's been wonderful having you on the show. And I really appreciate you being here and sharing with us today.
Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate you having me and your great questions.
Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest has been Lisa Erickson. She is an energy healer and an author based in Los Angeles, California. Thanks again, Lisa. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.